So we are ready to go. If everyone would like to take themselves down onto the mat, if you're not there already, we'll begin with our relaxation. All right, and while we're down here, we are going to do just that. Spend just a little bit of time relaxing. As we continue laying down on our mats, I want you just to start noticing your shoulders pressing in against the floor. Noticing our hips, if one's sitting up a little bit higher, if we're able to straighten our legs down completely onto the mat, and just even let our feet open up a little bit as our hips relax. And as we continue to lay down, noticing our head, are we tilting or twisting? Or are we able to find that flat base of the head resting against the mat, nose pointing straight up to the sky? And just close your eyes. Noticing our breathing now. Slow inhale through the nose, followed by a slow exhale through the nose. Continuing our breathing. And as we pay attention to our breath, I want you to notice how that makes you feel. Sometimes it's harder to calm down and to relax, and other days it comes a little bit more easily. Don't be hard on yourself if today's one of those days that it's just, you're fidgeting, you can't concentrate. If that's happening to you, I want you just to pay more attention to your breathing. Think about your inhale, filling your belly, your chest, and then think about the exhale, releasing everything and melting into the mat. And on our next inhale, we're going to reach those arms long up over our head, nice big reach. Oh, whether we interlace the fingers or reach them long, if they're touching the ground or if they're up towards the ceiling. How does that feel through the shoulders, the back, maybe even through the chest? We'll take one more big inhale with our arms reaching up. And then exhale, just relax those arms, and we'll give our knees a hug now. So just taking those knees into the chest and hold on to the shins or the thighs, whatever's comfortable, and then gently rock right to left, side to side. Kneading out your lower backs, discovering any pinching or tenderness through your hips. And then go just hold your knees as we roll through our feet and ankles. Any sort of fidgeting, cricks or cracks. And we will spend some time stretching each leg out independently, taking the hold of the right knee as we lower that left leg down into the ground, and then gently open the leg out towards that right shoulder, firmly pressing that left leg into the mat. So for instance, I've been working a lot with muscles surrounding the hips into the thighs this week. So I'm feeling a lot of stretch down the front of my left leg. You might be feeling it more through the groin or the inner thigh. And then we'll draw that knee over towards the left shoulder, noticing any pinching through that right hip or stretching through the outside of the right thigh. Trying the whole time just to relax the shoulders, the face. Inhaling through the middle, and exhale, release the leg down to the ground. And we'll inhale, draw that left knee into the body, open out towards that left shoulder, firmly pressing the right leg down into the ground. And again, just being aware of what you're feeling. Anything through the right hip, into the left leg? Are we able to stay calm across the chest? Drawing the knee over towards the right shoulder. Noticing any sensation through the outside of that left hip. Inhaling through the middle and exhale, release down. Take our time taking our feet flat onto the floor, bending the knees so the heels are close to the body as we prepare for some glute bridges. Hands are just down by our side as we open the chest, activate the abdominal muscles. Inhaling, lifting those hips up to the ceiling. And exhale, slowly roll down, one vertebrae at a time. Happy with your knees as we inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, lower. Working on that control, activating through core muscles. Inhale, lifting up, stretching through the backs, the front of hips. Exhale, lower. We'll do this one more time, keeping our feet flat on the floor. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, slowly release. Okay, just take those arms out to the side now. Take our knees up about 90 degrees. We'll take some windshield wipers. Inhaling in the middle. Now exhale, lower the knees to the right. They don't have to move very far. Inhale, lift up through the middle. And exhale, lower to the left. I want us to work on control. Inhale, lift, keeping the shoulders glued to the ground the entire time. Exhaling right. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, left. Are we in control of those legs? Inhale, lift, use your core, oblique muscles specifically. Exhale to the right. And one more. Inhale, lift up. Exhaling left. Inhale, lift through the middle and release the feet all the way down to the ground. Feel free to just wiggle through those hips. And we'll take ourselves up and over all the way onto hands and knees, finding tabletop position. Placing your hands directly beneath your shoulders, spreading your fingers. Knees are right underneath your hips. Relax those feet in the back as we find some cows and cats. Let's inhale, open the chest forward through cow. And exhale, tuck the tailbone, pull the bellies in as we round the back up to cat. Inhale, open through cow. Nice long necks. Exhale, round up into cat. Inhale, open into cow. Exhale, round up. And one more time. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Pushing back into child's pose when you're done. Sinking those hips nice and low into the heels, extending the arms forward if we're able to, as we relax the head. From here, we'll take that flow, inhaling forward through kneeling plank. Exhale, slowly lower, hover above the mat in baby crocodile. Inhale, pressing straight up. And exhale, push back into child's pose. We'll do our modified flow series 3 times. Inhale, forward. Exhale, hover, elbows brushing rib cage. Inhale, press up, keeping backs flat. Exhale, push back into child's pose. Inhaling forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, lower, backs flat. Inhale, press straight up. Exhale, push back. That looks fantastic. One more time. Inhaling forward. Exhale, slow lower. Inhale, press straight up. And exhale, push back into child's pose. Just holding it here for a moment. And coming forward through tabletop, preparing for runner's lunge. We'll sweep our right foot all the way up between our hands, knee above ankle. Happy with the placement. And then if you're able to, we'll lift our hands up, making sure hip bones face straight to the front. So do shoulders, and we're not twisted or tilted. Strong through the abdominal muscles as we lean forward just a little bit. Still able to wiggle those toes, and then lift those arms up nice and high. So if you can take your hands off the ground, you can lift your arms overhead or find heart center. Let's pay attention to our shoulders right now. Are they way up around our ears? Are they rounded forward? Or can we really open them back? Amazing. Taking one more big inhale. Exhale, hands release. Now I want us just to shift our weight back. So we're resting on our back shin, pulling that front foot up. Now we just send that tailbone down. Keep our backs as flat as possible as our hips hinge and we draw the chest forward towards the foot. And make sure you're not twisting. We're still keeping belly button and sternum towards that front foot. You can keep your hands on your hips, or if anyone needs to, we can bring the hands to the floor. What I want you to pay attention to is that it's not how low your bum comes down to the floor, but it's how much stretch we're feeling behind the knee and the hamstring. So generally speaking, if we can send the tailbone back farther, keeping our back up a little bit flatter, we'll get a better stretch. Now from here, let's just play with our foot for a moment, pointing and flexing. See if we can trigger a little bit of a response from the calf, the shin, get the blood flowing here. Take one more inhale, and then exhale, rock forward through the front knee, sweep back, coming into child's pose. Send those hips back nice and low if we can, and we'll sit. Take a couple of breaths here, nice long reach of the arms. When you're ready, join me up in tabletop. Stepping that left foot forward, helping the knee get right on top of that ankle. If you're coming up with your hands today, we'll slowly find our way up, making sure hips face forward, shoulders also face forward. Sometimes we get twisty, noticing where you're positioning in space, and then taking the arms up, leaving the shoulders down. This time we're focusing on bending in towards the left knee, still being able to wiggle those toes of the left foot as we lengthen through the front of that right hip down through the thigh. Wonderful hip flexor stretch. Little balance here as we calmly breathe. One more inhale. Exhaling, release the hands, rock back onto that back shin. So you're just off the knee a little bit. And then we'll send our tailbone down, our hips back as we hinge forward, trying to keep our body square. That's going to give us the most effective stretch up the front of that leg. Now, if your hands reach the floor, you can touch the ground, but that's by no means where they have to be. Keep your hands up on your hips if that's better for you. And if it's available, you can start playing with the foot, a little point and flex. See if you can get a stretch through the front of the leg and through the back of the leg. Notice how that feels on this side. One more inhale, and then exhale, rocking all the way forward, sweeping back into child's pose. From here, we'll take our thread the needle shoulder stretch, bringing that right arm underneath your left, laying into your right ear. And reaching through the middle, we'll take the left arm under right, laying into your left ear. And just noticing if we're feeling any stretch through the arm or through the upper back into that shoulder. Coming through the middle. And now taking ourselves up through tabletop to prepare for a down dog. We can reach those toes underneath as we reach the tailbone up nice and high. Press away from both of your hands, spreading all 10 fingers, looking back between your feet. Your feet are placed only about a running shoe distance apart. And then as we hold this, we're just going to start walking the dog, pedaling the feet. Right to left, toe to heel. Notice how that feels. And you stretch through the calf, the back of the leg. And now I want us to hold down dog. We're going to take our next lunge. Kick your right foot up to the sky. Look between the hands as we send it all the way forward into Crescent Lunge. You've got your knee stacked right above your ankle. You can keep your hands down on the ground if that's better for anybody. Otherwise, we're going to leave that back leg straight as we work our way up. Find your balance, square those shoulders, and then if you're able to, we reach the arms longer. We want to get a really nice stretch through that left hip, that back leg. And how we can help this is if we just bend a little bit more forward into the right knee, trying to really straighten out that back left leg. Strong through your posture. We'll take one more inhale here. And then slowly exhale, lower the arms down. Take that right foot, kick it all the way back up into three-legged dog. We're gonna use that leg again, but this time for pigeon. Looking up between the hands, kick that foot forward to left wrist. Right knee comes down into right hand. We send that left leg all the way back. Make sure it's directly behind you. And we don't want it all twisted. So see if you can come right up on top of the knee and where the shoelaces would be on your foot. You can stay high on your hands or come down onto forearms. Or if it's available to anyone, you can rest your head on your hands. Slow down your breathing. I want us to really try to relax as we lengthen and open up this right hip. One more breath. And slowly working our way up. We'll bring our hands to the ground. Sweep back into plank, where we'll hold plank for just a moment. You can bring your knees to the ground or stay high in plank as we take our Chaturanga, that slow lower all the way to the mat, and lift up into Cobra. Pulling those shoulder blades down, engaging through abdominal muscles, and opening heart center. Nice long neck, tall through crown of head. Pressing back into down dog or child's pose, whichever you prefer right now. We'll hold that for a couple of breaths. Amazing. We'll get ready to repeat that lunge series with the left leg. So when you're able to, if you're in down dog, we'll lift that left leg up to the ceiling, big inhale. And now all together, let's step that left foot forward into Crescent Lunge, knee above ankle. Feel free to stay down with your hands on the ground. Otherwise, we'll lift our body upright. Make sure that we've got hips and shoulders facing straight to the front. Arms can come high or down to your heart center. And then to really stretch that back right hip, I want you to bend forward more into your left knee, coming onto those tippy toes, straightening out that right leg. We'll hold this for a couple of big, deep breaths. Make sure we're not shrugging our shoulders, but lengthening our necks, pulling those shoulder blades down in the back. Amazing. One more big inhale. Exhale, bring those hands down. Strong here as we sweep that left foot all the way back into three-legged dog. Get ready for pigeon. Kicking the foot up between that right hand, knee to the left hand. Look over our right shoulder as we send the leg all the way straight back. Squaring our shoulders to the front. We can come down onto hands, elbows, or rest the head on the hand. Now slow your breathing, trying to flatten out our back. Stretching through our left hip. Remember, we want to calm our nervous system down. Encourage that relaxing feeling running through the body. And now we'll slowly bring ourselves upright, coming into plank position, holding our plank, whether it's on toes or knees. And then take that Chaturanga, slow lower down. Scooping up for Cobra. Long necks, lifting up through the hips as best we can. Soft elbows. Take one more big inhale here. And then exhale, child's pose or down dog. Very good, everybody. Let's walk our hands and feet together. We're going to hang in forward fold. Feet are placed about hips width distance apart. We hinge at our hips as we allow the upper body to hang over the legs. The legs are straight with a little bit of a knee bend. So just make sure you're not locking them, but providing a little bit of looseness here. Keep holding that, please and thank you. Now while we're here, go ahead and just shake the head no. And then nod the head yes. Now slowly, slowly, we're going to soften those knees, coming back into tabletop. And then stretching through the back just a little bit more, coming into puppy dog or modified dog. We walk our hands farther forward. Keep our backs as flat as possible as we start to reach the chest to the ground, our tailbone to the sky. And then if you're able to, you can touch the forehead to the floor, or if you need more, you bring the chin and you start to scoop out your backs, kind of like making a slide. Tailbone's the top of the slide, all the way down to your fingertips. Slow your breathing. And then slowly we'll just push back into child's pose. So you sit your hips down. Feel free to relax your arms if that's better. And then we'll roll ourselves up. Switching over on to our hips. If you'd like to find yourself seated. And what we're going to do in the seated position is just stretch through the legs a little bit more, specifically in butterfly. So we'll take the soles of our feet together, glue all 10 toes and your heels. Sometimes what happens is we kind of let our toes flail apart. We want active tension. So lots of good energy. Press your feet, glue them together, hold your ankles, very strong on our ankles. Roll the shoulders as we sit up quite tall. Now hinge at your hips, reaching forward, and then elbows can tuck in, or I like to use them to just press my knees just a little bit farther down. Once we find a good stretch, go ahead and just tuck the chin down a little bit, stretching through the back of the neck as well. Slowly rolling ourselves up. Help those knees together as we work our way all the way down onto our mats, laying on our back, just like how we started our practice today. Feel free to give your knees a hug. We've got just 2 more stretches that we're going to do together as part of our yoga in our rollout and recovery today. With your knees staying bent, go ahead and take your feet flat onto the ceiling, bringing your footprints up onto the ceiling for dead bug. You can hold your hands behind your knees on the outside of your feet, or clasping your big toes with pointer and middle finger. Keeping those knees lots and lots bent, the footprints on the ceiling. Go ahead and just let the hips relax. The feet can separate a little bit. We want to keep our backs flat on the floor. Relaxing our abdomen, letting go of all the tension through the midsection as we open up through the hips, the inner thighs. Feel our breathing coming even slower now. And then gently release the legs together and just give them a nice big hug. Again, you can rock side to side. As we prepare for our final spinal twist, we'll do this with legs together and bent at 90 degrees if we'd like to bring them into that position now. Opening the arms out to the side, keeping shoulders stable on the floor as we slowly lower both knees all the way to the ground if we're able to. And then once they're there, we'll look over that outstretched left arm. We can hold on to that top leg with your right hand if that helps. Just notice any stretch along the left side of our body, anything and anywhere. Just check in with yourself, take that scan, notice what you're feeling. Inhale, lifting the knees up, and exhale, lower over to that left side. We can hold on to the top leg again as we look over the right arm. We can take a moment and reflect now on how this side feels. Are we feeling it more through the hip, the back, maybe the chest or the shoulder? Inhale, lifting those knees up, and exhale, lower down. Now you can keep your feet on the floor, your knees bent, maybe even draw your knees in together. Excuse me. As we just rest here for a moment, staying on your back. Take a couple big breaths. And then when you're ready, I want you just to do a little wiggling. Take your time and work your way slowly up into that seated position. Just very gently coming out of it. And we're going to make our way up into that seated position. Amazing. At this point, we will be saying our goodbye for our yoga class. So for anyone who is going to leave us at this point, we bid you adieu, and we are going to say our proper salutation in yoga. And then for those of you coming in for the rollout class or staying for the rollout class, we are going to switch gears in just a moment. For those of you doing your rollout, we are going to go grab our equipment, make sure that we have it accessible on our mats right now, okay? Now this rollout class is going to be quite relaxing. We're not going to do anything too quickly. So I'm going to be using my foam roller, my smooth foam roller for the most part. There may be a couple of instances where I prefer to use my massage ball. I've got a couple of options here. One is a little bit harder, a little bit smaller. So it concentrates the pressure, the massage a little bit more. Whereas my smoother, bigger lacrosse ball, it distributes it just a little bit more. So it's imagine of somebody massaging your shoulder using their full hand compared to someone massaging your shoulder and using just their thumb, right? If you use just a thumb, it's a lot more concentrating. So it might feel like it hurts a little bit more, someone poking you rather than someone just pressing into you. So smaller ball will do that. It's the same with the roller. See how the ball is a lot smaller than the roller? So it just concentrates the pressure a little bit more. So it depends on what you have accessible to you, available to you, and then what you prefer. Remember, we've also got the rolling pin. So what's great about the rolling pin is, again, it's a much smaller diameter than the foam roller. So it concentrates a lot more of the pressure, but you're not laying on it. Likely what you're doing instead is using your own force, so you control how much pressure you want to put into it. So a couple of different options depending on what you need today. So now that we've kind of gone through our rolling pieces of equipment again, we've got a few things that we're going to do today. I'm gonna run you through the list now so that you're kind of prepared mentally for what we're going to be working on. We're going to start with our glutes, working through the meaty part of the back of your hips. From there, we'll then go down the legs into your calf muscles. So the bottom of your lower leg, and we'll see what we can do with that. It's gonna be slow, and you may need to play with whether it's the ball or the roller. The next piece is we're gonna flip over and focus on your hip flexors. Now, truth be told, rolling out your hip flexors is kind of tricky. Sometimes the psoas muscle, it likes to hide. And it does. Sometimes it will hide away from it. So we'll just play with it and maybe you'll get it to work today for you and maybe not. Maybe you need to keep working on it. The fourth thing that we're going to do is then work through our lats. So we will be stretching up and sometimes it's more below the shoulder and sometimes it's a little bit more up through the tricep. So we'll play with that as well, finishing off with our obliques. So it's gonna feel really nice, but again, just slow. So I wanted to run you through that a little bit. Make sure you have some water or anything with you. I'm gonna take just another drink because it's a lot of, just like when you get a massage, just a lot of acid and blood being kind of redistributed and concentrated. So you wanna make sure that you're continuing to hydrate. Starting with our glutes, I'll ask that we take our roller and we're just going to sit on it. I want you to get comfortable with your roller. Make sure that you're happy with it. I've mentioned this before in previous rollout classes. You can see I've got an extra long roller, so I have a little bit more room to play. If you've got one that's half the size, just make sure you're aware of your body on top of it. Now, how we're going to start is just sitting on it, as I mentioned. And I want you just to be very comfortable in your own skin and just start rocking back and forth. And I'm just very simply, we're just rocking back and forth. I want you to understand what balance is required on the roller. And if you're using a ball, obviously this is going to require a little bit more upper body control. But now that we're just rocking back and forth, I'll ask that we switch onto one hip. So I'm gonna start with my left hip today. I'm just going to extend my left leg, keep my right knee bent for some support. And you'll notice that I've brought my left hand down onto the ground to act as a stabilizer. This right hand can be wherever. I'll just put mine on my right hip for free today. So now with that left leg, you can bend it, you can straighten it. We've tilted ourselves just a little bit so that we can target that entire left side of our back side. So by rolling out the bum, which is essentially what we're doing, you kind of have to play with it because there's different muscle groups in your glutes. Mostly what we're going to get at right now is your gluteus maximus, which is the major muscle. That's what we predominantly see and what we use. However, if you can get up just a little bit higher, a little bit more towards the back and to the side here where I'm targeting, that's your gluteus medius. And that muscle often gets really tired, especially when we're training so hard, doing all of our awesome deadlifts or jumps. So if we can continue to roll it out, every now and then you may notice a sweet spot where it's like, oh, that's a little tender. Go ahead and just hold it. You can take a couple of breaths, breathe into it, and then start rolling again. And then you may need to just positions. Now I'm gonna go with both hands back and go just a little bit higher because I'm noticing that that's where I'm feeling my stretch the most. We're almost done on this left side. Ooh, except I just found a lower spot, which is amazing. All right, and we will switch to the right now. So take your time here. Again, you're friends with your roller. You need to respect it, balance on it. And I'm just going to straighten my right leg, stabilize with my left, leaning back on my right hand as I start focusing all of the energy and the pressure from the roller on the back of my right hip. Now, depending how much you're feeling right now, you may need to explore early, or maybe you find the spot right away. Really what the roller does is it kind of forces you to become a little bit more acquainted, better acquainted with your muscles, focusing on learning what each body part really needs from you today. Now just be aware of your breathing the entire time we're going through, and notice your posture as well. And now I've brought both hands behind me and I'm rolling out a little bit higher, so targeting my gluteus medius, which is the top of your bum into your back, just a little bit. Almost done on this right side. And then I want us to slowly just come off of the roller, sitting in front of it. And what we're going to do is stretch a little bit more into the hips with a yoga pose. This is Cradle the Baby. You'll cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Now, maybe this is where you stay today and you can just hold your foot, press your knee down and sit up really tall. So I've just crossed my foot over. Otherwise, if you think you can do it, you can either grab the foot and knee and lift the leg up, or you can scoop your elbow and knee, lifting it up. Now I'm gonna do that again. I'll face forward so you can see. So Cradle the Baby. From figure 4 seated, you scoop that leg up and hold your leg just like a baby. And you can start even rocking your baby, which feels so good, doesn't it? Stretching through that sore right hip, maybe a little bit up through the IT band. Just sit up really tall, okay? One more big inhale. Now gently exhale, put your baby down. Careful with their baby. Good stuff, and we can bring that out. We're gonna do the other side now, okay? You bring your foot across. Maybe this side you just stay in figure 4. That's okay. You can pick it up with your hands or scoop your elbows. Grab a hold of that baby, protect the head, hold the bottom, and then gently rock your baby right to left, side to side. Trying to sit up tall, long necks, roll those shoulders down. We'll hold our Cradle the Baby for just 2 more breaths. Amazing. Carefully set that baby down and release your leg. Go ahead and just give them a shake. We're going to be coming back up on to our roller, but now the roller is going to come underneath the lower part of the legs. So take your roller to the end of your mat and then just set the roller underneath your knees. Now, when you're able to, I'll ask that we roll all the way down, just laying down. So I want us to get quite relaxed, and this is going to give us the best support system, laying flat on our mat like this. We don't have to worry about balance. Now, with one foot, so I'm going to use my right foot to start. I'm just going to press and roll that roller underneath my left calf. Just start with it kind of on the middle. And now I'm just going to take my right foot and I'm just going to cross that leg on top of my left leg, because I know I like just a little bit more pressure. If the right leg is too heavy today, your left calf muscle is like, that's too much. Go ahead and just get rid of that right leg. You can just set it off to the side, bend the knee, foot on the floor. But as I mentioned, I like having just a little bit extra weight on top. So now with my left leg pressing into the roller, I'm just gonna start rocking it right to left. And I'm using my top right leg to help me. And already I'm feeling those little knots. Kind of feels like, you know, like a marble is in my calf, and I'm just rolling that marble around the bottom. Those are just little knots in my muscle that I'm just playing with right now. And as soon as you find a sweet spot, I want you just to kind of hold it, maybe press into it, and then breathe. Now, for anyone who thinks, okay, Cassie, this feels okay, but I need more, that's when you'll grab your lacrosse ball or your massage ball if you've got it, and then you'll start doing that because it'll apply more pressure. And you can use a golf ball. You could use anything that's hard and round. I'm getting really good stuff. My calf muscle is really talking to me right now. So at this point, I want to get just a little bit more. So now I'm going to place my heel on my toe, pointing my leg so it's straight up, and I'll start bending my knees, rolling back and forth. And maybe you need to, so for me, I need to just open my left hip up a little bit. See how I'm just leaning my leg to the left a little bit? So mine is more on the outside of my calf. Maybe what you need to do is go more on the inside today. And you just play with that. And again, if you need to ever just hold it or press more into it, amazing. So now what we'll do before we switch legs, I want you just to take your left foot and I want you to bring that leg up to the sky. You can hold just behind your thigh. I'm gonna actually hold my left toes. And I want you now just to pull a little bit through that left calf muscle. Take your slow breaths. But now to finish off on this left side, go ahead and release the hand if you're holding your toes. Just hold the back of your thigh and give that ankle some rolling. Just working through clockwise and counterclockwise. Try to encourage some blood flow. Just roll through that. We're going to get ready to repeat this now on the right side or the side you haven't done yet. Just squeeze that leg in, maybe give it a shake. And now that left leg is going to be the one that helps as you rest the right calf, just the meaty part of that lower leg on top of the roller. Now we're just calm through the upper body, and that left leg, you can either set it aside or, like I've suggested, place it on top. So just cross it over your right ankle. Now you're just going to start rocking right to left. I just need to adjust my roller a little bit, go a little bit lower on this side. Okay, now starting that right to left, little rock side to side, working through your ball and socket of the hip by just letting it go right to left, windshield wiper at the hip. Notice what you're feeling. So for me personally, I'm not feeling a whole lot on this calf just yet. So I'm gonna play with it a little bit. Use my left foot to adjust. Oh, there we go. So I needed to go lower for my right calf. It was higher and out to the side on my left. And now my right side is much lower and more in the middle. It's interesting when we take these body scans, how our right and left side can be so different, and it can be so different from day to day even. Oh, so I'm getting some really good stuff now out of my calf the lower I get. I'm just gonna keep going nice and slow, using my left leg to press down just a little bit more weight. Oh, and I found the sweet spot. So at this point, I'm just gonna take a couple of breaths. So I encourage you to do the same. Just keep playing with the positioning. If it becomes too much, you can always back off and take a couple of breaths and then try it again. Sometimes it can be quite intense. I'm getting some really good stuff right now. And at this point, if you want to get just a little bit deeper into your sweet spot, if you found it, go ahead and flex that right foot, left heel on top of toes, and then start that roll. Now you're going down the length of your calf, front to back, just bending and straightening that knee. And you may need to play with, as I mentioned on the left side, opening or leaning your body a little bit to the right or leaning it a little bit to the left. For me on this side, it's just a little bit to the right and very small bending of the knee to roll through that knot that I've got. We'll do one more back and forth and slowly just release that right leg, lift it up to the ceiling, holding behind the thigh, or you can hold the toes if you're able to reach your toes. And we're just going to breathe into that calf stretch. Tell the brain that we need lots of good, clean blood sent to that area to clean up the muscles. If we're holding the foot, go ahead and release the hand as we now just roll through the ankle. Clockwise and counterclockwise, working through the ankle, the foot. Really nicely done, everyone. Now take your time. We've been laying down for a while, so I want us just to slowly maybe shake that out, work our way over through our sides and up into tabletop. If you need a drink before we move on, feel free to grab one. I'm actually going to help myself to a drink. Because we've got our hip flexors next. Now, as I mentioned, hip flexors are a little bit tricky to get. So if you want to imagine what your hip flexors look like, it's this tendon, this muscle that comes up in your abs. So you can actually probably feel it if you go right above your hip bone, and then you come up a little bit higher, and it's kind of ropey feeling. And then it comes all the way across your hip and it inserts down into your thigh. So it's quite a big area. And every time you lift your knee up or every time you sit down and go to stand, it's working. So it gets worked a lot. So how we're going to try to stretch this is we're going to lay on top of it. So you'll need your roller or your ball. Some of us may need a ball to target it today, right across. And then carefully, I want you just to rest both hips equally on it to start. And if it's okay for pressure, you can bring your elbows down onto the ground. So right now we're equal across right and left side. And I just want you to lay on it and just notice if you're feeling anything. So for me, this is not enough right now. So I'm going to work on one hip. And this is when I need you to do a spider monkey. So I'll lay on my left hip and I spider monkey my right knee out to the side. So now my right knee is going to act as my lever, my controller, as I press into that left hip. And if I can lean just a little bit, oh my goodness, I just found it. So for me, it was quite easy to find the stretch today. Right away, I'm finding an intense stretch through my left hip. And all I needed to do was just turn a little bit open. And I would pretty much, my hip bone is right in front of my roller. So I didn't have to travel very far. I'm just breathing into it. And if you need to, holy moly, you can slowly just work back and forth. Try not to roll over your hip bone. So go either above or below. And then just little movements. And remember not to hold your breath, just nice breathing. Really nice, everyone. So again, you may have had to grab a ball if you weren't able to find it or if you needed more pressure. For me, as I mentioned, it was quite easy to find today on this left side anyways. It might be a different story when we switch to the right. And I'm just going very slowly. I'm not moving very much at all. And I'm just running the length of that psoas, my hip flexor. And just what this is doing is working through trying to take like a piece of jerky, if you want to imagine that tough kind of crackly piece of jerky, and we're just massaging it. We're kneading it out and we're making it a little bit softer, a little bit more pliable, sending lots of good blood to that area. Now I want you to take your time if you haven't switched already and slowly switch to the other side. Spider monkey your other knee out, maybe transfer your elbows a little bit. And now you have to play with that other side. So you may have to just spend a little bit of time finding the area. If you have to open or close your body, maybe spider monkey the knee a little bit farther, or if you need to grab a ball, if you were using a roller. I'm actually gonna come way up onto my back left foot because I wasn't able to open up quite enough. Oh, there we go. So now on this side, see how much I've had to turn to get access to that tender part. So I'm going to hold it here and just breathe into it. Hopefully everyone's been able to find it. Again, just play with it. This is all about investigating, exploring, taking that body scan. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. Just remember, slow breaths. We don't want to trigger that fight or flight response. Try to keep our rest and digest nervous system active. When you find those sweet spots, try not to tense up, but instead just breathe into it. Let the body do its thing. We'll just take a couple more breaths. Amazing. Now slowly, just coming back to the center position here. And we'll take a cobra. I'm comfortable on my roller, so I'm going to actually take a cobra stretch with the roller staying under my pelvis. Feel free if you had a ball or a roller just to let that come forward so you can do this on the floor. This nice long lift, opening up the front of your body. And we're going to take ourselves back into child's pose. Sink through those hips. Maybe we can get lower now that we've worked through those hip flexors. I'm gonna take the roller under my hands to give me a little bit of an extra shoulder stretch here. Knowing that we're going to stretch the lats next. So we're officially done with those legs. They've worked hard enough. Getting ready for the lats. We'll take ourselves onto our stomach. And again, you're gonna probably have to spider monkey this. I'm gonna start with my left shoulder coming right on top. And you might need to angle this out, maybe a 45-degree angle. Get the front of your arm And then if your left shoulder is on the roller, you'll take that right knee and spider monkey it. And then you're just going to ever so slowly work through your shoulder. I'm actually starting with my pec just because I noticed that I needed a little bit extra there. And then as you come into your lats, you'll flip your hand, except that my rotator cuff muscle is screaming at me right now. I'm just targeting my technical word, infraspinatus and supraspinatus. You don't need to know that. My armpit is yelling. Okay, so we'll move the left arm into position and now work those lats. And the lats are just underneath your armpit coming down through your rib cage. For me, these are yelling at me right now. So I'm actually going to just go quite slowly. And I'm not right on top of my shoulder. I'm actually just underneath my shoulder, right here on that left arm. And I'm just going very slowly. Some of you may need to go more up into the arm and play with the position. I'm getting lucky today and I'm actually finding my sweet spots quite easily. Some days it's a lot harder and you have to just play with it. We won't spend too much time here because I want to make sure we get to the other arm. We'll just go back and forth. Again, as soon as you find a spot that's really causing you some tension or tightness and you feel like screaming, instead what you do is you just hold it and you kind of melt into a little bit. Just take some deep breaths. Now, feel free to stay on this side if you're getting a really good response. Otherwise, I feel pretty happy with that. I'm going to switch to the other side now. You can go ahead and just take your time. I'm going to start on my chest again, like I did last time. It was a good setup for me. So palm down, front of shoulder into roller, and then spider monkey that left hip. Now you can see from the back what I'm doing. And I'm just gently going through the front, kind of exploring the entire shoulder. And when I'm happy with that, I'm just going to turn my hand so now my thumb is up and I get a little bit more on top of it. And then, oh, there we go. I found my knot right away. So just below my shoulder, see how I'm just underneath my armpit. And that's targeting the top of my lats here through that side, right underneath my shoulder. Getting a lot of good sensation. Good, and just take a couple. Again, if you needed a ball, you could replace that. Just be careful, that's a lot of pressure. You could even use the ball against the wall. That way you control how much you're pressing into it. We'll take just 2 more breaths, focusing on right underneath that shoulder on this side. Amazing. Now carefully just come through the middle. And what you're going to do is turn your body onto the side. So you'll lay on your hip. We're going to stretch a little bit deeper into the side through those obliques, taking yourself on your side. And I want you just to very carefully press your shoulder. See how my shoulder, I can move my arm completely. So it's just underneath my shoulder on my rib. I'm just laying into that side and I'm going to place that arm down. And I take this top arm, and reach. Now you can flow it. I like the flow because then you can roll it a little bit, kind of like our mermaid flow in Pilates. And it's getting at my intercostals and those lat muscles. And you can play with this too by coming up a little bit higher if you need it to target. And you can take longer reaches depending on where you need to target here. I'm going to try just a little bit lower. These big reaches here, rolling out that rib cage. And again, some of us may be loving this and others may think, it's not really doing anything for me today. It all depends on what you've been doing this week, what your body needs. So I'm okay actually on this side. I'm going to switch over to the other side and I'll show you from the back now. Carefully lay on your side. Just set my shoulder, reach that arm, happy on my hip, and we'll take that top arm and just reach it long. And then if it feels okay, you can roll this side too by flowing that top arm, working through that extension, expanding through the rib. If you're okay with it up high, maybe you need to hold it every now and then. Maybe you're okay to keep flowing. I'm gonna try moving that roller just a little bit higher, see if I can get some more expansion. And again, I'm gonna flow it just because I love moving through this. Feeling a lot of sensation through the back of my ribs on this side. And now I'm just gonna move it a little bit lower one more time. And we're just about finished. See what we can get out of this. Good stuff, everybody. Take our time as we slowly work our way all the way off that roller. And I'll get us again just to take the roller under our hands or our forearms as we kneel into child's pose. Take a couple deep breaths. And now I'm actually going to reach my hands to the right end of my roller, place my left hand on top, and pull down that left side. I'm getting a lot out of that left side of my arms, shoulder, ribs right now. And then walk those hands over to the left end of your roller or your mat, right hand on top, and just take that side reach in your child's pose. Amazing. Slowly coming through the middle, although I never want to leave this stretch. It feels so good today. Coming through the middle and take our time just coming all the way up. And we can sit down. And before we leave, we're just going to stretch our neck. Sitting up so tall, take those shoulders down. Let's take our arms out to the side, open up across the chest and through those biceps, and bring our right arm across the body. Scoop under with that left, keeping the shoulder down away from your ear, and then just tip your head over to the left side, opening down the right. Slow, deep breaths. Amazing. Big inhale, open up, stretch across the chest. Exhale, left arm across, scoop under with the right. And then we can just tip those heads over to the right side, stretching through that left neck, left shoulder. Good. Inhale, opening up. And then just bringing our hands down. We are going to say our final goodbye together. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed our rollout and recovery session today. Remember, drink lots of fluids, maybe go for a walk, just keep loosening yourself up. Ready? Big inhale, hands up to prayer. Exhaling down through heart center. Namaste.
Namaste.